top end of your finger, just that fingernail, just a tiny, tiny bit. And you stir that for an hour, and like the way we do with biodynamics, one way to a vortex, and the other way, chaos and a vortex. And do that for an hour, and then you sprinkle that out in the morning. And that goes out as the mists are rising, because we're working with the atmosphere, this one. And this is the thing that's really important. I mean, what other things do you work with the atmosphere? Not many things. It's kind of ignored, isn't it? We're learning to look at the soil now, which is great, but a lot of people don't think about the atmosphere. And this is what we're working with silica 501. So we're working with the atmosphere, and we're working with the light, and that's what goes into the plant and through to the roots. But we're also working with the photosynthesis and the sugar saps, which is also what grows the fruits and things like that. One of the things we find is very handy for is if we're having a problem in a spring, or as we often get over summer, we get very little sunlight, we're getting cloudy days all the time and rain. You find that your crops are just sort of sitting there. They're not finishing, they're not ripening off. And if you put your 501 out at that point, they will start to ripen up and finish. And I always remember a dairy farmer that had, having problems in spring in New Zealand, and he was having trouble with his grass. It wasn't growing enough, and it was very dull, and the cows really needed to have some good grass. And so I thought, I'll put the 501 out and to see if that will help. And he sprayed it out, and that day, the next day, the amount of milk and the fat in the milk increased. So because they get a daily record of it, and he found that it all jumped up, and then it sort of went down after a couple of days. And he thought, well, I didn't. This is where we come into the calendar. I didn't do it at the beginning of the cycle, of the ascending cycle. So now I'll look for a leaf day at the beginning of the ascending cycle, the next 2 weeks. And he put it out again, and the fat levels went up again, and and that stayed up at that point. So he was able to use this as a tool to increase the sugar saps and increase the growth of the plants over this time, so that it could improve the outcome for the cattle and for the milk and everything. So this is the thing, the more you learn about these things, the more you can start to work with them on your farms and so on. So now the other thing that's really important for us, we said before about the fungi. So what we're doing is sometimes when it's very wet and like full moon like we've just had, you'll get this amount of water comes up above the earth. They call it like the moon forces coming up, and they're coming up above the coming up above the earth, and the fungi that are doing the right thing down here then start moving up into the leaves, and we're not so happy with what they do there. Cause problems, don't they, John? Yeah. So
can everyone see that there now?
Yeah. I'm not showing them.
Okay.
Right. So what we don't do is push it back down. So using the compost preps anyway, plus using the 501, we'll start to balance the atmosphere. Plus and we'll talk about that in a sec, the casuarina tea. And the casuarina tea is like the kidneys of our body. It balances the moisture in the body, and it's so we put those two out together, 501 and the casuarina tea, and they start to balance the moisture and get the atmosphere and the soil all working together properly. So one of the most important things that you could say about biodynamics is about balancing the atmosphere, balancing the soil, balancing the amount of moisture, and so on. So there's many things that happen once we start using these things. Now,
I'll just say doesn't just balance, it then increases the vitality because things are working more harmoniously together.
Yeah, that's right. So Michelle was just saying that it increases the vitality of the product because it's all working together. And
everybody knows why Mungali milk tastes good now.
Yes. She's blushing.
the heat.
You're allowed to after all that lovely cheese and ice cream. so that's the thing we're saying. It raises the bricks. So the bricks is the sugar levels and that's particularly important for like grape growers where they can't harvest until it gets to a certain point. And some people have lost their whole crop because it wasn't quite ready that day, and then it rained the next day, and they couldn't pick it. So you say, put your 501 out just to get your bricks up, and then you'll be able to harvest it right in time. So you learn to work with these things. It increases your flavour, the smell, the quality of oils and things are much higher when they've been using biodynamics. In fact, some of the oil producers like the tea tree oil, but what's the other one? Myrtle oils. When they didn't have enough myrtle oil supplies when they were starting back in the 90s and so on, a few biodynamic people were making the oils, and plus a few others. And then as they got enough people growing the myrtle, suddenly they had too much. They worked out that the best oils of the lot came from the biodynamic farms. So they said, we'll only have the biodynamic ones, thank you. So they got to choose because they had found much higher in their oil content. Keeping qualities is the other important point. It keeps things a lot longer. Like your zucchini don't go off straight away in the fridge, and your cucumbers and so on, they keep well. So yeah, so that's the important thing about the Silica 501, and that it's stirred for an hour. There's only a small amount. It goes out first thing in the morning. And what we've found is if you do this every moon opposition Saturn, which is once a month for 2 days, it's kind of handy because it makes a regular rhythm you can get into. And we have stirring groups all around the tablelands now, from Cooktown down to Innisfail. They're still happening there, and to Meena Creek, and to and we're going to get a new one in Malanda, which is really good. So yeah, so and there's a Kuranda one. Haven't got a Mariba one yet. Where's all the Mariba people? So you need one there. Good. And so you can stir them, and then what you do is stir as a group. It starts about 3 o'clock, the group, and it can be the days change, but the next few are over the weekends, which makes it easy. And you all meet and stir together, have a nice talk about all things garden, all things biodynamics, all things. Maybe make some compost and do other things sometimes. And then you can take it home, and you can put your own 500 out when you get home, take a bottle of it home, and then take your 501 home as well, and next morning get up bright and early and put that out as well. Done. So it's a much easier way of doing it.
You might want to distinguish about the times it goes out for there's a lot of new people, Cheryl.
In the
like
morning.
About the reason you don't put 501 out late.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, first thing in the morning at sunrise you do this, because as we said, it works with the light and it works with the sunlight, and you can get quite burnt if you put it out as the sun's up. So yeah, which is interesting, that tiny little bit, because you're actually, and this is the important bit, people used to ring me when I worked in the BD office, and they used to ring me and say, oh, all my 500, there's stuff still on the bottom. What am I going to do? Is it not going to work? And I said, yes, of course it will, because what you've done is by stirring it that way, you've taken the forces from it. And that's the same as we do with our food and everything else. We take the forces from it, and then all that's left is the little grains of crystals that are in the bottom. But it works with these forces, and that's what you're putting out. So you put it out, so you're out there at dawn, and it's good that you've even done it the night before, so you can go out and put it out straight away. Put the 500 out in the afternoon is what Kate said, because it's drawing in those forces, and we're wanting the 500 to go to the earth. It works with the soil, and you want it to go into the earth. Casuarina tea is something that we can make, and in Europe they talk about it being equisetum tea, but we're not allowed to grow equisetum in Australia because it's one of those weeds that will take off everywhere.
Horsetail.
And pardon?
Horsetail.
Horsetail, yeah, that's its other name, horsetail. So, but we've found that the casuarina is very similar, and same sort of style, and it has high silica levels in it. So we make a tea with that, which is just boiled up. When you buy your resource manual, it tells you how to do all these things, and all these instructions are in there as well. But you just make this fresh tea with it, and that goes out and balances the atmosphere. And we often put that out with the silica in the morning as well. So you can make this the night before, and just add it to it and put them both out together, and that'll deal with these high with the full moon, with a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. That'll help balance it all. And yeah, like you, I should have put mine out this week because I've noticed that all my avocados suddenly got fungal attacks over them. I thought that's what John was talking about. Yeah.
Hey
So-
Cheryl, it's pretty important too. What we do is we'll apply the 500 with other applicants as well. So you can add it to other types like your compost sprays. You might be putting a biological spray out. So you can put your 500 with it.
Or your kelp.
Or your kelp, yeah. And you can what we like to do is we like to use it on a sort of foggy, misty day, so that the dew will increase the amount, or the rain will increase the amount of spray you get on your actual grass leaves. Because we're doing pasture and vegetables, and you can put it on your sprays if you're putting some sort of biological spray out onto your pasture.
Right. Good. Well, that takes me up to the next one.
Okay.
So the next one is compost preps, rains and all this stuff, because we've destroyed the humus. So it's a very important part of organics and biodynamics that we build the humus again in the soil, and then it can sort of hold the moisture and hold everything and grow good plants, and we don't have to fill all our rivers, our lakes and our
Seeds.
no, with water, yeah, with floods, but with poison. So yeah, that's right. So yeah, so they work with that. So all of these work together. It's this whole cycle, and then we also work with the cosmos, with all the planets as well. The planetary cycles are all part of our Earth as well. We just did that last one, so you missed that one. We have to wait till we get round to the planting calendar again. But all of these things start to work together. They all connect in with the planets, and the whole purpose of this that we're doing is that Steiner, all the farmers were coming to Rudolf Steiner in 1920s saying, what can we do? We're finding the fertility in our soils going down, and our plants aren't lasting as long, and the animals aren't as healthy. And he said, well, this is where mankind has to help. You know, up until this point, the Earth was connecting to the planets and everything. They all sort of work together. So the way that, and he gave these instructions as to how to be able to reconnect the Earth to the cosmos again, so we can have this vitality in our food and vitality in our bodies, and forces to work with and forces to evolve with, which is what it's all about. That's it. Okay.